All right, lads, we're back. Welcome to the stream. I'm Aji. Today we're playing Saya no Uta. If you're just joining us and you like what you see, please follow so you get notifications. And if you want to support the channel, subscribe or support directly via my Ko-fi link in the description, in the panels below. All right, we're gonna set this up, I think, so that there's no visible gore on screen. Don't really know how bad it'll be, so I'd rather not get banned from Twitch immediately. Let's see. Also, as I put in the title of this stream, trigger warnings for SA, gore. There's a lot of blood and viscera and just unpleasant things in this visual novel. So if that's not your cup of tea, please don't stay and experience it. It's not fun. So, all right. Oh. Hopefully my model's not in the way. I don't actually know. All right. I didn't check what the save key was for this, so we're just winging it, I guess. All right, let's go. Ah, yes, the story is a work of fiction. Please don't take it seriously. I'm pretty sure I already did this. We're just gonna blur everything, like I said. Oh my god. Oh, what a sound that is. I don't know how loud this is also. I've turned it down twice, so hopefully it's not that bad. I should be on the opposite side of the screen. There we go. Okay, I'm going to attempt to read this over these noises. Oh man. I was not expecting that when I started this. Good god. Alright. Okay, I could assume this says hey. The wriggling mass of flesh burbles. 3 such creatures sit around the table in front of me, slurping filthy sludge from their cups as they trade winces, growls, and sounds that I cannot describe. Oh my. Oh my god. The sounds it's making are kind of destroying me. By listening carefully, I am able to grasp the gist of their conversation and respond when it is required of me. This is necessary to avoid arousing their suspicion. However these creatures look, they are my friends, apparently. Main character. I wish that I could still deny it, but I gave up on that long ago. Night after night, I went to sleep praying for an end to this nightmare, only to wake each morning to the same twisted hellscape as the day before. I know now that I have to blend in, that I have to act like one of them. Such has been my life these past 3 months, and so it will remain until the day I die. Judging by its tone, this one must be Koji, and the one next to him squealing more than the others is probably Umi. Omi? Omi. Which means that the one next to me is Yo, though I can no longer see any trace of her once attractive features. I try my best to ignore the rotten stench of excrement that issues from her quivering flesh. Oh man. Oh man. I think hold on. As scuffed as this may be. Alright. Everything has changed, or almost everything. By some cruel trick of fate, my relationship to the world alone remains the same, as if an insane architect took the blueprints of my life and rebuilt it out of blood and gore. These monsters and I were part of the same college club. We studied together, ate together, we even went skiing together every winter break. Now these are but painful memories of days that will never return. If only no one recognized me, I might have been able to disconnect myself from the world. It would have been comforting in comparison to believe that I had been abducted by aliens or that I had stumbled through a gateway to hell. But no, this is beyond a doubt the city where I was born and raised, the society that I was a part of for 20 years. Save that I and I alone can no longer see it that way. The world as I knew it is gone. I have no place to call home. Anyway, I can tell whatever they're discussing is of no importance to me. I decide to keep quiet while pretending to listen. But just then... one of the flesh beasts says as it swivels its bloodshot eye towards me, "What do you think?" I try desperately to suppress my loathing and behave normally, but my hoarse voice ruins the attempt. Slimy hole near the top of the creature writhes nauseatingly as it vomits some semblance of words. That must be Koji's face, or what I would have seen as such 3 months ago. Unable to stomach the sight of it, I avert my eyes and give a neutral answer.
Yeah, it's not.
These are my closest companions. One of them even had wished to be more. How many nights have I spent crying in loneliness and lamenting the friends who no longer exist? In 3 months, my tears ran dry, and now there is only loathing left in me, surrounded by hideous creatures that I can only assume are Koji, Omi, and Yo. I spend each day trying to act as I always have. If I fail at this, I'll surely be sent back to the hospital. Only this time I'll be locked away forever. Jeez. No matter what, I won't let that happen. Well, if it was that, it would be fine, I think. That's it. I can't look at them or bear their screeching any longer. I jump to my feet, desperate to escape. Fuminori. That's the main character's name is Fuminori. Since I, for some reason, have such trouble reading this when it's all like fucked up like this. Spray of stringy slime from the cilia around its voice box flies at me. I try to cover myself, but too late to keep the slime from splattering across my face like the yolk of a rotten egg. Oh god. This is... Alright. I'm about to lose it. I want to grab a chair, a desk, anything within reach and use it to smash the life out of this creature, ending it all. I barely suppress the impulse. I mustn't let on that something is wrong. However they look at me, this is their world. I'm the outsider here. Struggling to put on a smile, I reach into my wallet, pull out the first bill I find, and put it on the table without even looking at it. I don't care about the chains. I just need to get out of here now. I mutter hastily and flee the cafeteria. Oh man. Those noises in the background are going to wreck me. I swear to God. It's not good. It's not good. Anyway, I'm not crazy. Now we get to see it like this. Sukuba Yo frowns at the suggestion. Koji supports Omi with a laugh. Her impromptu suggestions are nothing new, and it's Koji's role as her boyfriend to provide backup. They're a good match for each other, Yo thinks. Sometimes it makes her jealous. That doesn't mean anything. You can start whenever you want. Oh, my coffee is cold and that is terrible. For as old as this is, the characters look very nice. So it was a date. Yo feels a stab of envy. Koji and Omi enjoy their time together as normal lovers do. That's certainly not something that should make her jealous. It's just that her luck in love has been bad. Yo keeps her voice upbeat, trying to cover up her disquiet. She knows that it's wrong to envy her friends. She too would be spending time with the man she admires, if not for the terrible tragedy that befell him. This is true. His is true misfortune. Her bad luck doesn't begin to compare. Oops, I cut her off. While speaking, Yo sneaks a sideways glance at the young man sitting next to her. Although the conversation has involved only 3 people so far, there are in fact 2 couples at the cafeteria table. Yo's boyfriend, though there's still some doubt over whether he could be called that, is beside her, as silent and expressionless as a statue.
なあ、文則。お前はどう思う？
Perhaps Koji sensed Yo's pain in his usual quiet and considerate way.
どうって。
The cause of Yo's distress. Sakisaka Fuminori responds to Koji's sudden query with a vague, mumbled question of his own.
いや、だからさ、今年の冬のスキーだよ。お前も行くよな。
Koji speaks gingerly, as though probing a tumor. A few months ago, he would not have hesitated to rebuke Fuminori for his attitude. Their long acquaintanceship had forged a strong and honest friendship, but
わから
now
ない。
Fuminori responds bluntly, his downcast eyes and sullen demeanor making it clear that he has no desire to break his
何
silence.
か他の予定でもあるのか？
いや、別に。
Even Koji, Fuminori's best friend, cannot communicate with him as before. What hope does Yo have of breaking through his shell? The scars left by the events of the late summer day are still deep all these months later. Each one of the 4 bears them, not only Fuminori.
なあ、別に運動するのが傷に触るとか、そういうわけでもないんだろ？
どうだろうな。今日の診療で先生に聞いてみる。
As though that answer drained the last of his patience, Fuminori bolts out of his
おい、
chair.
文則。
Even Koji can't keep his voice from rising as he tries to stop Fuminori from leaving. Fuminori reacts swiftly, throwing his hands over his face as though to shield himself from something terrifying. Maybe some spit flew inadvertently from Koji's mouth, but that happens sometimes. Fuminori's reaction is beyond the pale.
だから今日も診療なんだ。もう時間だから。
Even as he tosses money on the table to pay for his coffee, he acts like he's touching something filthy.
それじゃ。
Fuminori stalks out of the cafeteria, almost as if he's running away. Cloaked in heavy silence, the remaining 3 lower their gaze to the table, where the abandoned 10,000 yen bill sways forlornly. Oh my goodness. Fuminori's coffee is untouched. Well, he paid for lunch.
やってられないわね。
文則にはもう少し時間が必要なんだと思う。
だってもう3ヶ月よ。なんなのよあれ。付き合ってるこっちが変になりそうよ。
俺だってわからない。わかるはずもないと思う。
Absolutely not.
お前だって想像つくか？あんなひどい形で家族全員を奪われて平気でいられるわけないよ。
Oh my. Could have happened to anyone. A tractor trailer flipped over on the highway, crushing the Sakisaka family car into twisted scrap. They said it had been difficult to tell the bodies of Fuminori's parents apart. For a while, it looked as if there was no hope for Fuminori either. It was nothing short of a miracle that he was able to leave the hospital and return to a normal life.
見舞いに行った時なんてもっとひどかったじゃないか。誰が誰かもわからずに怯えて暴れてベッドに縛り付けられて。今はよくあそこまで立ち直ってくれたと思う。
それにしたって変よ、咲坂くん。私たちのこと見る目つき、あれ何なの？
You're not.
まるでこっちが人間じゃないみたい。
As rude as it sounds. Definitely not.
よせ、近江。
While Koji's kindness makes her happy, Yo also knows that she mustn't take advantage of it. Fuminori is the victim, just as Koji said. He's the one who most deserves sympathy. Yo's feelings for Fuminori are her problem and no one else's. She doesn't blame Fuminori for not giving her an answer after she worked up the courage to ask him out. In fact, she thinks even more fondly of him for taking the time to consider than she would have had he treated her relationship their relationship casually. Jesus. Apparently, the fact that Fuminori did not reject her was enough to make them a couple in Koji and Omi's eyes. They've had plenty of fun at Yo and Fuminori's expense since. The truth of it, though, is that he still hasn't given her an answer. After revealing her feelings for him, Yo didn't see Fuminori again until a week later, and then she could only stare at his broken body through the window of the ICU. And when he was finally released after 50 days, oh my god, that seemed an eternity, he was somehow different. She's starting to doubt that he even remembers what she confessed to him before the accident. I don't think that's important at all anymore. Now winter is coming and her feelings hang forgotten in the cold, lonely air. Poor thing. Dr. Tanbo Ryoko has never had a more troublesome patient. God, I have dyslexia, but my brain just likes to like trip over words. It's great. I love reading out loud.
その後の経過はどうですか、咲坂さん。
いいえ、別段。これといって問題もなく。
His voice is hard and flat, his words tossed carelessly into the air. It's like he's speaking to himself in an empty room. Ryoko is a surgeon, not a psychiatrist, but even she can sense the thickness of the wall that he has erected between himself and the world.
吐き気やめまい、幻聴や幻覚といった体験は？
いえ、何も。
While Sakisaka appears to be looking at Ryoko, his gaze is actually aimed a fraction down and to the side. He's only superficially engaged in the conversation, when in truth it does not interest him in the slightest. Perfect rejection. Realizing that she can't interview him like this, Ryoko sighs and sets her chart aside.
咲坂さん、あなたが当院で受けた処置は脳神経医学の分野では世界的に最先端の治療でした。そのことはご存知ですよね。
Treatment of subdermal hematoma through the use of micromachines, a procedure available in Japan exclusively here at T University, had been the only way to save Sakisaka Fuminori from a cerebral contusion that should have been fatal. Okay, so our main character has brain damage, if that wasn't completely clear already. And they've given him a experimental surgery to try and fix it, and for now at least we're assuming that's what's led to the world looking like it does to him. So
最先端であるということはまだまだデータの出揃っていない危険性の伴う治療法だったという意味でもあります。
そうでしょうね。
Sakisaka Fuminori's lips twist slightly in what might be a bitter or mocking smile, but it is gone before Ryoko can discern its meaning.
普通こんなことを言って脅かすのは医者として問題なんですが、施術後に重大な脳障害をきたしたケースも報告されているんです。予後の経過には十分に注意しなければなりません。
Hence these weekly checkups. If only he would take them a little more seriously.
先週の MRI はどうでした？
MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, is a way for a doctor to examine the brain in detail without opening the patient's skull. Surprised by Sakisaka's uncommon technical knowledge, Ryoko recalls his profile.
そういえばあなたも医者の卵だったわね。
Oh, that makes this way worse. For a medical student, it just makes it awful.
先生が心配しているような脳機能不全は画像診断だけでも十分にわかるはずですよね。
いいえ。
There was nothing, not the slightest hint of abnormal activity. For a procedure with such a low rate of success, the results have been nothing short of miraculous. However, something bothers Ryoko. She can't shake the feeling that he's hiding something beneath his guarded exterior, some terrible weight on his soul, perhaps. But if it's an inorganic problem, then there's nothing she can do as long as he refuses to explain it.
大丈夫ですよ、先生。現に僕は 今こうして病院の外でも何不自由なく生活しています。問題なんてないでしょ。
Hmm.
ねえ咲坂さん、こういった難しい手術は予後不断が原則なんです。もう少し私たちを信用してもらえませんと。
So she's suspicious, obviously, that he's like not telling her what's going on with him. I don't know. He says they'll lock him up if he says that he's hallucinating these things. I don't know how true that is. But it is what it is, I suppose.
そうですよね。僕だって先生方を信用したい。どんな相談にも乗ってもらえるんですか？
ええ、もちろん。
Very much pretending to want help here.
じゃあ、先週の話の続きなんですが、先生、あれから大貝教授については何か分かりましたか？
Dr. Ogai. Unable to answer, Ryoko hardens the mask of her smile. As before, the patient is inquiring about someone whom he has no business
大
knowing.
貝教授のことは、あなたの治療とは何の関係もないでしょ？
信頼しろと言った矢先に、いきなり隠し事ですか？
Ryoko is used to patients treating her with hostility. Some degree of paranoia is natural when dealing with a person whose mistakes could kill you. In Sakisaka, however, she doesn't see the anxiety that other patients exhibit. His demeanor is perfectly calm, almost like a detective questioning a suspect.
何分、だいぶ前にここを辞められた方ですからね。
辞めた理由はご存知ない？
ええ、おそらく個人的な事情でしょうね。それにしても、咲坂さん、なぜあなたはそんなに大貝教授にこだわるんです？お知り合いですか？
教授は今失踪中なんです。知って？
いいえ。
Ryoko realized that her answer may have been a little too quick. She should have acted more surprised.
近頃教授の身内の人間と恋にしていましてね。その人から調査を頼まれているんです。
A relative? Ryoko considers this with a frown.
大貝教授に縁者の方はおられないはずですが。
おお、誰から聞きました？
それは噂話に。
なるほど。そんなことが噂になる程度には、大貝教授は有名人だったわけですね。
It really does feel very probing, all of this. I don't know. I don't know. I would never speak to my doctor like this, I think. Even if I was looking for information.
まあ、一風変わった人だったみたいですね。
なのに、誰も彼が大学を辞めた理由を知らないと。
Water, 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 water. Ryoko falls silent, knowing that this isn't a topic she can brush away with a smile. Sakisaka seems to have finally grasped her mood, however, as his strangely stiff tone softens a little.
先生、僕はどうしても大貝教授に会わなきゃならないんです。彼がいなくなったせいで、行く当てがなくなり困っている子がいるんです。
それはむしろ警察の領分なんじゃないかしら。
Although she makes it sound like the most obvious thing in the world, the suggestion is actually a gamble. If Ogai Masahiko's disappearance becomes a police matter, then the university will be investigated. Everyone who was involved in the incident will be at risk of exposure. And of course, that includes Ryoko herself. She knows, however, that Sakisaka is unlikely to go to the police. First of all, his excuse is obviously a lie. They already made sure that Ogai had no relatives who might come looking for him, which is why they could bury the truth of what happened. But then how did Sakisaka, a mere patient, learn about Ogai?
咲坂さん、私の知っている範囲のことは喜んでお教えします。ですが、大貝教授は 今年の4月に辞表を出して以後は何の音信もないんです。どこか長期の旅行にでも行かれたか。
そうですか。
Expecting resistance, Ryoko is surprised and Sakisaka backs down. She's still worried about his condition, and the mysterious link between him and Ogai is only making her more uneasy. But as long as he doesn't open up to her, there's nothing she can do. After a brief pause, Ryoko writes progress good on Sakisaka's chart for today.
咲坂さん、それでは来週の診察ですが、今日と同じ4時でも。
Before she can finish, Sakisaka is gone. It looks like someone sprayed the walls with pig guts from the ceiling to floor. What color should the walls of the hospital be? White, of course. And to the creatures of rotten flesh shambling around me, I'm sure this hallway looks just as white as it should. I know intellectually that the walls are white. I know that the flesh beasts are really human. I'm the one with the problem, and it's because I've accepted this that I am able to lead something approaching a normal life. Even if my university's medical department is nowhere near as good as T University's, I'm sure a medical student... Oh, sorry. I'm still a medical student specializing in neurology. I have a basic idea of what has happened to me, although it's hard to believe. So this dude's fully aware of what his issue is? That's insane. Gives me a little bit of like a Gothica vibe where Halle Berry goes insane, quote unquote insane, and gets hospitalized, but she's fully aware of everything because she, you know, she's a therapist. Anyway, this isn't a pathological condition. It's probably some form of agnosia, unlike anything that has ever been studied before. The flesh beast called Tombo Ryoko said that the other patients had developed neurological disorders after receiving the same treatment that I did. So I guess I'm just another failure. It makes me want to laugh in that know-it-all doctor's face. Oh. That said, I don't blame the doctors who operated on me. After all, I do owe them my life. I know as well as anyone how low the chance of success was, and that I had no other hope of survival. I was unlucky. That's all there is to it. The point is that my condition isn't treatable. Just like someone adapting to a hearing aid or wheelchair, I have no choice but to adapt to this nauseating scenery. Of course it's hard. It wasn't easy to resign myself to this fate. But now there's more than just despair. Even for me, there's a glimmer of hope. Keeping my eyes on my feet, I hurry home. Are we going to meet our titular character now? I live in a quiet suburban neighborhood in a house that's much too large for me alone. My parents, even unluckier than I was, died in the accident 3 months ago. I couldn't even go to the funeral for being in intensive care. I had to sell my father's business, but at least that left me with the house and enough money to live on for a while. Of course I'm sad, but the accident took more for me than my parents. In fact, being on my own has probably saved me. If they were still alive, my parents would have never allowed me to live with some strange girl. As I open the door, a bright voice greets me from the kitchen. The voice is beautiful and clear as a bell, human. Its sweet sound washes the day's cacophony from my memory. Even the patter of feet coming down the hallway is music to my ears. Nowhere else in the city can I hear such footsteps. Only in this house, with Seiya, am I so privileged.
遅かったね。ちょっと心配しちゃったぞ。
ごめんよ。今日は病院に寄っていく日だったから。
そうだっけ?
In her smile, in the inquisitive tilt of her head, is everything that I have lost. Since my accident, this girl is the only person I've met, perhaps the only person in the entire world who doesn't trigger my cognitive disorder. That should be a red flag. Dude, she's clearly not... Never mind. True, her skin seems too white, and the color of her eyes and hair is probably different in reality. But even so, her form is undeniably human. Are you sure? Are we sure? And it's not just her appearance and her voice either. As I bend down to take off my shoes, Saya wraps her arms around my neck and pulls me gently into her tiny bosom. Her skin feels truly human, not cold or slimy, and from her hair wafts a sweet feminine fragrance. In all the world, only Saya is pleasing to my 5 senses. And what's more, she smiles at me, embraces me. She knows that she is my salvation, and for some reason is happy that I need her. If I had not met Saya, whatever, it's Saya. Ugh, my fucking god. Anyway, if I had been all alone in this twisted, filth-ridden world, I would no doubt succumb to madness. It is no exaggeration to say that Saya alone is keeping me alive.
今日は一日どうしてた？
今の模様替えもう半分ぐらい塗り終わったよ。
そうか。
Hmm.
楽しみだな。
もうちょっと時間かかりそうなの待っててくれる？
いいよ。じゃあ僕は今の続きをやってる。
After I see the humming Saya run off to the kitchen, I step into the living room. I realized one day that if the natural colors of the world were sickening, all I had to do was paint over them with colors that seemed pleasant. I went to the hardware store and bought every color of paint I could find. Then Saya and I tried different combinations until we found one that worked. After painting the bedroom from ceiling to floor, I was finally able to get my first good night's sleep since the accident. When we first started on the living room, Saya was unsure what to do with the curtains, just painted carefully around the windows. Without a moment's hesitation, I tore the curtains down and painted over the glass itself. There'll never be anything out there that I want to see, and as long as we keep the storm shutters closed, the neighbors probably won't think anything of it.
ご飯できたよ。
こっちで食べよう。持ってきてくれるか？
She enters the living room with a tray of food. Saya sniffs the
ペ
air.
ンキの匂い平気？
Now that she mentions it, I suppose the smell of paint thinner must be building up in this closed room. It doesn't really bother me though. There are far worse smells outside.
さやは嫌いかい？
平気。海苔が大丈夫ならいい。
Saya sets the food on the table. Unfortunately, neither its color nor its smell is at all appetizing. Not that food elsewhere is any different.
いただきます。
As has become routine, I steel myself and methodically transport the food into my mouth. The taste is gut-wrenching as expected, but it's not Saya's fault. I'm sure she made it excellently like the cooking show said. It's just that my taste buds can't accept it.
美味しくない？
まあね。
Lying won't make Saya happy. She knows about my condition.
気にしないで。明日はまた別のものを作ってあげるから。
ごめんな、いつも。せっかく作ってくれたのに。
いいのよ。こうやっていろいろ試していけば、いつか文のりでも美味しく食べられるメニューが見つかるかもしれないじゃない。
In my current state, eating is nothing more than an unwelcome duty. As much as I hate it, I need food to survive. If I stay alive, then perhaps one day, as Saya says, I'll be able to taste something delicious again. I met Saya, didn't I?
さやは食べないの？
私はもう済ましたから。
In all the time we've been together, Saya has never once eaten with me. I don't know why she refuses to do so. It makes me a little sad. Still, I'm not about to push the issue, not when she's putting up with all the problems I have.
そういえば、今日もう一度病院で君のお父さんのこと聞いてみた。
パパの？
Dr. Ogai Masahiko is Saya's father and her only living relative. Saya has asked me to unravel the mystery of his disappearance.
やっぱり何も教えてくれない。
Hmm.
何か隠している雰囲気なんだが。
そう。
I expected Saya to be a little more disappointed.
心配じゃないのかい？お父さんのこと。
そういうわけじゃないの。
She gives a little shake of her head, then smiles at me once again.
ありがとう、海のり。
君はそれ以上のことを僕のためにしてくれるんだ。
Thank her for the meal and set my chopsticks down next to the perfectly clean plate. As wretched as the taste was, thinking of the care that Saya put into it gave me the strength to finish every bite.
じゃあ、お風呂にする？
まあ、また背中流してくれるか？
Ever since Saya moved in, it's been like having my own wife. Yeah. Saya, why are you so... Okay, it's over. Holy shit. Was there a way to fucking censor this? Because I don't know if I saw it. I love that it just censored all the gore, and it's like, no, you can just have the fucking H scenes full throttle. You can't blur those at all. There weren't even any mosaics. I am shocked, actually. I did buy the uncut version, but I didn't think that meant, hey, everything's just kind of out there for you to see. Okay. There's probably more of that, but that also means this is probably the last time I'm playing this game on stream. For a while, at least. I'll circle back to it at some point. Perhaps. Oh, man. What is happening?
みのり、泣いてるの？
どうしてなんだ、サイヤ。なぜ僕にここまでしてくれる？
As far as I know, anyway, the whole point of this, she's definitely got an agenda. So, it's fine, but God, I really didn't want to see that right now. I was trying to read this. Good thing I marked this as an SFW anyway.
みのり。
わからないんだ。わからないのに僕だけがどんどん君に惹かれていく。
He's got some kind of spell on him for sure.
教えてくれ。どうすれば君を失わずにいられる？僕は何をす…
こうやって抱いていて、みのりに抱いてもらうの大好き。だから私はみのりから離れたりしない。
The colors are so unappealing. How do you even have sex in this room?
なぜ僕なんだ？
それはね、みのり。
Because you're the perfect target, she says softly.
それはさやも。
Yeah, okay. Don't try to clean it up now. The sorrow in her voice resonates with my own. There is a deep loneliness in her eyes. A loneliness that which now springs boundless affection. Ah, Fuminori.
だからさやにもふみのりしかいないの。この世でただ一人だけ私を抱きしめてくれる大好きなふみのり。
Now I know. No matter what horrors of the world unleashes upon me, all I ever need is Saya. This feels very... again, there's something weird about this girl. I don't know how he couldn't see that. Yo is determined to talk to him today. Nothing will happen as long as she hesitates, and it will only prolong her suffering. The time has come to show courage once again. Girl, he has brain damage. Could you just fuck off? Besides, he's definitely fucking some eldritch beast or something. I don't know. Yo's fourth period on Thursdays is biology. This is her one chance to see Fuminori. As a required course with many students, the lecture is held in a large hall that can seat well over 200. But since the room is usually only half full, it's rarely difficult for Yo to find the seat she wants. Yo prefers to sit near the center, where it is easiest to hear the professor. Most of the students congregate in this area for the same reason. Water. Reading. Fuminori usually sits beside her, although given the ambiguous state of their relationship, she knows better than to take this for granted. Still, she tries to save a seat whenever possible. Okay. The classroom isn't crowded today, but Yo is able to... So Yo is able to set her bag on the seat next to her without inconveniencing anyone. But when the professor arrives at the usual time to start class, there is no sign of Fuminori. After waiting for about 10 minutes, Yo scans the room furtively. Such a word. Fuminori is there sitting alone in the far back corner. Did he miss Yo when he came in? No, he couldn't have. And besides, no serious student would willingly sit so far away from the front. Feeling miserable, Yo slides her bag back over to herself. Aw. Fuminori is out the door the moment class ends. Yo barely manages to catch up with him before he disappears down the hallway. Fuminori jerks at the sound of his name. You would think that she just screamed at him.
何か
Now that they are face to face, Yo is painfully aware of how much weight Fuminori has lost. His sunken eyes and protruding cheekbones are a far cry from the features familiar to her. She wonders whether he's under a lot of stress or perhaps not getting enough nutrition. Maybe it's both. He definitely looks more tense than he should, afraid even though of what she can't imagine. Oh, okay. Sorry, that sentence was just written very strangely. His eyes move restlessly from point to point, and he refuses to look Yo in the eye. It hurts to see Fuminori this way. What could have changed him so? Today, she reminds herself, rekindling the flame of courage in her heart.
お話があるんです。ちょっといいですか?
The courtyard is empty and silent. No one is willing to sit and chat in the cold November air.
話って何?
Do you remember? Yo almost blurts the question out but manages to keep her composure.
咲坂さん、最近ちょっと様子が変です。
そうかもね。まあ、あんな目にあった後だから。
He smiles like it's nothing, but even that seems forced. He's standing precisely one pace further away from her than he used to.
本当にそれだけなんですか?
君にはそれだけじゃないように見えるのかい?
Yo manages to keep from flinching at the harshness of his tone.
何か我慢してるみたいに見えます。
Rather than answer, Fuminori grinds his toe into the dead grass at his feet. Fearing that her determination might flag, Yo lets the words come as they may.
どうしようもないものを無理して壊れそうになるほど頑張って我慢してるみたいに今の咲坂さんはそう見えます。
そうかい。
Fuminori mutters through clenched teeth, no longer trying to deny it or change the topic. This is an even clearer signal of rejection than his prior evasiveness. But Yo's determination is strong. Today, at least, she won't back down.
友達ってこんな時のためにいると思うんです。 ご家族のことは。でも咲坂さんは一人ぼっちじゃありません。殿尾くんや大見ちゃんや、それに私がいます。
Yo can no longer stop the words pouring from her lips. She fears that if she does not unleash her feelings now, they will be lost forever.
一人で背負い込んだりしなくても、私たちで何とかできることだってあると思うんです。たとえ何もできないにしても、話してさえくれれば、あなたが少しでも楽になるかもしれない。
Girl, I think you're out of your league, actually.
私、咲坂さんの力になりたいんです。他のみんなも同じ気持ちだと。
やめてくれ。
Ooh. She promised herself that she wouldn't back down, but Fuminori's expression is terrible enough to shatter her resolve. The look in his eyes is not anger or any other warm-blooded emotion. It is hate, murderously cold hate.
そういえば君には一つ返事しなきゃいけない要件があったね。
He remembers. He remembers and still has treated her so coldly. That is all the answer she needs. If his words stab any deeper, she might very well die.
僕は君のことをとりわけ特別に意識したことなんてなかった。僕が君のことどう思ってるのか。
咲坂さん。
でもね、今ではもうはっきりと答えが出てる。あれから考える時間だけはたっぷりとあったからね。筑波さん、僕はあんたのことが大嫌いだ。顔も見たくない。
God! Yeah, okay. Yeah. You are out of your league, lady. Don't cry, Yo tells herself, but too late to stop the tears pouring from her eyes.
もう二度と会いたくないっていうのは無理だね。同じ学校に通ってるんだし。
Ah, God, don't be such an asshole.
だからせめて今後は僕に声をかけないでくれないか。目障りなんだよ、つくづく。
Shout out to all the people who say the worst they can say is no. Good God. Ooh. Ooh. That smile is creepy AF, bro. Stop.
君さ、少しは頭を冷やした方が良かったんだよ。どうせ大宮浩二にけしかけられてその気になってただけなんだろ。自分一人でのぼせてる分には勝手だけどさ、他人を巻き込むなって言うんだ。
That's all Yo can take. Even after shedding tears in front of him, she absolutely refuses to let him hear her cry. Any disgrace would be preferable to breaking down here. So she runs, fleeing breathlessly from the courtyard with Fuminori's cold smile at her back. Omi was the first to catch sight of Yo and Fuminori leaving for the courtyard. Reluctant to interrupt them, but still unwilling to leave them alone, she and Koji ended up watching the whole thing from the shadows. Throughout the exchange, Omi was clearly itching to jump out and punch Fuminori in the face. Knowing her temper, Koji kept a firm hold of her arm until the end. If he hadn't, she might very well have done it. Fuminori leaves after Yo, his every step seeming to take an act of willpower. Koji sighs heavily into the once more empty courtyard, but the bitter taste in his mouth will not go away.
どうしちまったんだかな、あいつは。
Even Koji cannot forgive Fuminori's treatment of Yo. However, the first thing that he feels is confusion, not anger. Koji has known Fuminori since long before college. Fuminori was never this cruel before. There is no question now that the accident has changed him. Oh, hey. You missed you missed the horribly uncensored sex scene that I wasn't even sure was in this game. There's a good chance I don't cover this again. It wasn't censored at all. Like, there was no mosaic or anything, and there was noises. So I didn't read it. I skipped it. I was like, no, there's no censorship at all. That's just a penis. So, yeah, if you watch the VOD, just be aware that I, like, shrieked the entire time that was on screen. Anyway. Welcome back. Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be uncensored, because at the beginning, it was like, hey, do you want the gore to be censored? And I was like, yeah, obviously. I don't want to traumatize people. And then they were like, but we're not going to censor the sex, so... Oh. Alright.
放っておきたくないにしたって、俺たちに何ができる？
覗き見よりマシなことよ。私、先坂くんに一言言ってやらなきゃ気が済まないわ。
This is why people should mind their own business. Okay, you have a point, but I swear in the settings at the beginning, I didn't see a hey, mosaic my penises and titties, please button. So yeah, I guess that's on me.
それで筑波の気が晴れるってもんでもないだろうに。
だったら私のキーだけでも晴らすわよ。
Mm-hmm. Yo and Omi are best friends, just like Koji and Fuminori. In fact, it was the relationship between Koji and Omi that brought the other two together. Omi's anger is very natural.
私、先坂くんと二人だけで話してみたいわ。コウジはついてこなくてもいいから。
Kinda just feels like she's butting in, but whatever.
本気かよ。
その代わり、ヨウのことを見ていてあげて。あの子、多分心底傷ついてるから。泣き終わった後で、誰かの優しさが必要になると思う。
Why aren't you doing that? You're her best friend. The hell?
なあ、それって俺とお前の役割が逆じゃないのか？
It does seem like you should switch jobs.
私みたいな性格だとね、慰め役は無理。励ますつもりで余計に傷跡広げちゃうのがオチなのよ。
なるほど。納得いった。
やな。
じゃあまあ、そっちはほどほどにしとけよな。
Ending the conversation before Omi's mood gets any worse, Koji heads off to find Yo. As you can see, the gore in the background is censored and blurry. I feel awful, miserable, but also refreshed. I finally crossed the line. I knew it would come crashing down like this sooner or later. Having become unable to feel anything but disgust for other people, there was no way I could hope to maintain the relationships I'd had before the accident. Today's incident will definitely get back to Koji and Omi, and everyone will be convinced that I've had a major change of character. However, I don't care anymore. At least I probably won't be committed for this. I just need to avoid acting any stranger than I already have. If this puts a rift between me and the others, good. The thought of all the stress I'll avoid brings a smile to my lips. I'm fed up with them sticking their noses into my life. It's like they don't care that they make my gut turn just by being near me. I've been terrified of them up till now, but today I struck fear into one of them. In that sense, it's something of a relief, but I'm not entirely without remorse for what happened. The person I just demolished with verbal equivalent of a nuclear bomb used to be my friend Yo. Even if my senses don't believe it, my mind accepts the theory. I don't have any particular grudge against Yo herself, and I didn't want to hurt her. In retrospect, perhaps I should have just ignored her outright. Yo was an attractive girl. I certainly didn't think badly of her. To be honest, though, I was annoyed when Koji and Omi tried to stick us together. It felt like they were using us as entertainment, and Yo seemed totally oblivious to the fact that she was dancing to their tune. Her cluelessness was irritating. Still, I knew that none of them meant any harm. Back then, I didn't have any reason to hurt others just to get my way. If having a casual relationship with Yo would have kept our circle of friends together, I was willing to make that compromise. Now, however, there is no room in my heart for such forbearance. What the fuck is that word? If merely talking to someone is an ordeal, then how can I be expected to show them kindness? These ruminations have left me exhausted. I want to return to Saya as soon as possible, but thinking about the packed trains and crowded downtown streets between here and home saps my spirits. Catching sight of a nearby bench, I sit down and close my eyes to the horrors of the world. Can't do anything about the stink or the noise, but at least I can calm my nerves enough to rest. When I regained consciousness in the T University Hospital ward, the world was as dark as it is now. I had not yet recovered my sight, even though my eyes and optical nerves were undamaged. It must have been an after effect of the accident. Blindness was a shock, but now I know that my suffering then was nothing. After all, my senses of hearing, touch, taste, and smell were all fine at the time. The real horror began when my sight returned. The one small mercy was that I was able to come to terms with the accident and my neurosurgery while still blind. I panicked when I first saw the nightmarish hospital and the blood-curdling shapes of the doctors and nurses, but I soon guessed the cause. It chills me to think of what might have happened if I had recovered my sight along with my consciousness. Suddenly awakening in what can only be described as hell, I would no doubt have lost my mind instantly. Soon, my disorder spread to the senses of touch, taste, and smell. As it turns out, sight exerts tremendous influence over the other four. The taste of my food, the feel of my bed sheets, the fragrance of my get-well flowers all became as unbearably foul as my eyes said they should be. Eventually, when even doctors' voices became unrecognizable as human, I decided to kill myself. I didn't believe for a second that I could live in this new world. I'm not sure if that's what I would call it, but sure. Oh. You are on a streak, huh? My first dedicated follower. Let's see. One night, while thinking of a painless way to die, I found myself succumbing to sleep, drifting between the nightmares in my dreams and the nightmare of reality. I didn't notice her enter my room. Hey, 3's a lot to someone with no viewers, okay? It's appreciated. The next thing I knew, there was a face staring down at me from next to my bed. The face was not covered in pus or slime or earthworm-like feelers. It had smooth white cheeks, round eyes, a lovely little nose, all the things I had never expected to see again. The face was that of a girl, undeniably human and positively glowing with beauty. I sighed in admiration, savoring the first peace and joy since regaining my sight. She had not expected such a reaction, apparently.
怖くないの？私のこと。
Looking at the clock, I saw that it was exactly 3 in the morning. No time for a young girl to be alone in the hospital. Perhaps she expected me to mistake her for a ghost. But I would not have cared if she had been a ghost. Either way, she was a godsend.
君は誰だい？
私はさや。パパのこと探しに来たの。
I assumed that she was the daughter of a late shift doctor or another patient. It was unusual but not unthinkable for such a girl to be wandering around the hospital.
あなた、怖がらないんじゃつまらない。
あ、ちょっと。
Wait, I cried, desperate to keep her from leaving. It was only after she turned around that I realized I hadn't thought of what to say next.
何？
Her beautiful eyes drew me in, healing my soul to its core. Though the white haze clouding my mind, through the white haze clouding my mind, I struggled to form a coherent sentence.
女の子にお願いしていいことじゃないんだが、今は君にしか頼めない。
No longer concerned with propriety, I let the words come as they willed.
握らせてもらえないだろうか。
Saya looked confused at first, but then smiled like she had just found her new toy. Her smile was brighter than my memories of the sun.
変な人。そんなこと言い出したの、あなたが初めて。
Ever so carefully, as though catching snowflakes, I placed my palm against hers. I could feel her human warmth and the softness of her delicate fingers. She was there, just beyond the palm of my hand. Thinking back on the joyful tears I shed then, I know that this is the moment I was saved from my fate.
この半月の間に初めて人に触れた。人だと感じられる体に。
Oh my god.
は？
他の人じゃダメなんだ。僕事故に遭って、その後遺症らしいんだけど、人が人の姿に見えないんだよ。
本当に不思議な人。あなたって面白い。明日の夜もまた来ていい？
ああ、そりゃもういいのかい？君はそんなことをして。
大丈夫よ。夜は私のものだから。
Sai is such a strange character. But I don't know if I give a fuck about the alien stuff or whatever the hell she's supposed to be. The neurological disorder is so interesting to me that it makes, I mean, I've never known anybody with a neurological disorder that like makes the world look disgusting and grotesque, like hell to them essentially. So yeah. I do, well, it went into it a little, like the little bit of science or whatever behind it, but it isn't talked about it too much. I don't know if they'll talk about it more or not. Ugh. Let's see. Guess we'll read a little more. I don't actually know how other people see Saya. Kind of feels like no one else has ever seen her, except for her quote-unquote dad that she's looking for, the Dr. Ogai that she's asked us to find, main character. Outside of him, I feel like no one else has seen her, like, for real. So I assume, at least from like my perspective, if the whole world looks like fucking flesh and viscera and one person looks like a human being, they're 100% not a fucking human being. Like there's no way that equals. But I do hope later it explains, or at least shows us, what we're supposed to be seeing when Saya, like, is on screen. Considering what everything else looks like. I might take a second in BRB, actually. I've been reading for over an hour. I do hope so. That being said, I will be right back very quickly. Ugh. Normally I'd put up the BRB screen, but this model has a animation lost tracker, so it's I think it's cute. Why are you broken? Okay. I don't know why it did that for a moment. We're good now though. We're back. We're jiggly. We're here. Alright. Off we go. More of this. Alright. And so our rendezvous began. Saya came to my room every night at 3 a.m., skillfully taking advantage of the duty nurse's shift change. I was astonished to learn that she was living inside the hospital.
これだけ広いと隠れる場所には事欠かないから。
Why would you need to hide? She's been living in the suburbs with her father, she told me, until one day he suddenly stopped coming home. After she had tired of waiting, Saya had decided one night to sneak into the hospital where he'd worked. And there she'd lived for over 2 months, searching for his whereabouts all the while.
学校には行かなくていいのかい？
いいの。勉強は全部パパに教えてもらったから。さやはとっても頭がいいんだよ。
She was a strange girl. On the one hand, she looked and acted like a child. On the other, she was remarkably self-reliant and at times exhibited a sharp intelligence and deep knowledge that many may have found unsettling. I didn't care. Saya was the only other human in the world, in a world gone mad. Her existence meant far more to me than the standards of society.
危なくないのか？見つかりそうになったことは？
全然平気。ここにいれば食べるものにも不自由しないし、パパのうちに一人ぼっちでいるよりもずっと楽しいよ。入院してる患者さんたちのうち、ちょっと精神的に参ってそうな人を事前にチェックしといてね。時々部屋に真夜中に忍び込んで脅かしたりするの。その人が大騒ぎしても、そういう患者さんの言うことはみんな真に受けたりしないから。
Jesus, okay, Saya's a little cunt. Fucking with people with mental disorders.
結局は悪い夢ってことで片付けられちゃうし。
Her confession reminded me that the hospital was famous for its ghost stories. Who could have imagined that they were actually a real girl impishly roaming these hallways?
じゃあ、僕も最初はそのつもりで。
うん。ごめんね。怒った？
While her pranks were hardly praiseworthy, I couldn't bring myself to scold her for the very thing that had brought us together.
もうやらない方がいい。その代わり、夜は僕の話し相手になってくれないか。
I can assume that, actually. And from what I know, later it's very much upfront that she does not have empathy.
さやもその方が楽しい。
Sure. With extreme care, I was able to conceal my sensory disorder. It was glaringly obvious that the doctors had no way to cure me, and the fact that I had undergone a still experimental procedure made me even more cautious. As a medical student, it was very easy for me to imagine how the doctors would react if they discovered that I was exhibiting such unusual side effects. I was not about to become a guinea pig, a mere specimen to be examined with clinical detachment. And so I hid my discomfort and loathing behind a mask of normalcy, convincing the doctors that any signs of stress were merely a result of hospitalization. Saya was my support. Looking forward to her nightly visits gave me the strength to endure my daily torture. Hope can make an enormous difference in a patient's progress. With the aid of my secret nurse, I recovered at a pace that left the doctors stunned. I guess he's right. It's an experimental procedure. You're having neurological side effects. You'd probably become a study specimen at that point, so I guess not telling them is the best way to go about it. On the night before my release, I summoned my courage and asked her.
君はこれからもずっとこの病院に居続けるのかい？
うん。結局パパの手がかりはなかったけど、もう他にいるところもないし、バレそうになるまではいいかなって。
Whoops. In other words, there was nothing keeping her there.
よかったら。
I asked timidly. The question took all the courage I had.
え？
家族はもういないから部屋はいくらでも余ってる。人目を忍ぶような必要もないし、住み心地もそんなに悪くないんじゃないかと。
Okay, so they've only been living together for 3 months then. I mean, he was in the hospital for 50 days, so I guess they weren't living together for that time. But essentially then, they've only been living together for like a month or so. And they're having sex. I guess someone with a disorder like this would very much cling to the only person they saw as human. It just so happens that she's a female. So I guess lucky him or whatever.
ずっとふみのりと一緒に暮らすの？
I was too afraid to ask her what she thought of that, so I hastily offered a deal.
君の父さんのことは代わりに僕が探してあげる。約束するよ。必ず居場所を見つけてみせる。
難しいと思うよ。それ。多分パパ、何か悪いことをしてこの病院を辞めたんだと思う。だから警察とかは困るの。なるべくこっそりと探さなきゃいけないし。
頑張るよ。どんなことだってやる。僕は。
Unable to control myself, I finally spoke the truth.
さやと離れたくないんだ。
At first she looked bewildered, but after a few moments of silence she said,
少しだけ考えさせて。
That night she left my room earlier than usual. On the day of my release, I managed to smile as I accepted the hideous, foul-smelling celebratory bouquet. The flesh beasts calling themselves Koji, Omi, and Yo came to pick me up. Though they had come to see me many times during my stay, it never got easier to see my friends change so horribly. My sudden tears of despair drew suspicion, but I managed to explain them away as tears of joy. While we walked to Koji's car, I looked desperately for Saya amid the grotesque scenery. Even as we drove away, I kept watching the hospital fade into the distance, praying for the last glimmer of hope. but Saya never appeared. After Koji and the others dropped me off, I paused a while to regard my surroundings. I had lived my entire life on this block, in this house. There was no other place that I could call home, but nothing was as I remembered. As I walked up the path to the front door and took in the yard where I had spent my childhood, I could feel those memories being defiled by the twisted, festering shapes around me. Inside the house, I found nothing familiar, nothing to offer me comfort and warmth. But what I had once called home was now a whole other world.
僕にはもう帰る場所なんてない。
I whispered with a smile of self-pity. There was one last stop to make, one last nail to hammer into my coffin. I stepped into the room that had cradled me from childhood. The walls were papered with human entrails and bed a tangled mass of worm flesh. But none of that mattered. There, curled up on the bed like an abandoned cat, was Saya. As I stood there in shock, she looked up at me and a tiny, weak voice said,
本当にここにいてもいい？
I responded by sweeping her into my arms, embracing her tightly so that she could not escape. Saya did not resist. When she arrives at the Sakisaka house, Omi first takes a deep breath to calm herself. Oh, okay. That's in the flashback sequence, I guess. Okay. While waiting for a response from the intercom, she looks over the path of the yard that she can see from outside the gate. Even Omi isn't normally one to complain about other people's housekeeping, but this is going too far. The grass is growing wild and there are piles of dead leaves scattered everywhere. It doesn't just look unattended, it looks like an uninhabited ruin. It's still light out, but every window has its storm shutters tightly sealed. Omi guesses that they've been closed since morning. What kind of life is Fuminori leading? Even if he's living alone, he can't neglect his housework forever. And it's just her imagination, or does something stink like rotten meat? It couldn't be coming from the yard, could it? There's still no response, so she presses the buzzer a second time, and a third, and a fourth. Finally, after this has gone on for over 10 minutes, Omi loses her patience and opens the cover of the intercom. As she expected, the power has been disconnected. Perhaps Fuminori has a good reason for shutting out the world, but Omi only sees it as a lack of respect for others. Her anger rekindled, she pushes the gate open and stomps through the yard to the front door. Given the state of his intercom, she doubts that Fuminori will respond to a knock, but Omi decides to just open the door. Oh no. And go in shouting. And if the door is locked, then she'll just have to... Surprisingly, the doorknob turns easily in her hand, and the enraged Omi finds herself throwing the door open wider than she intended. Her nostrils are instantly assaulted by a choking stench.
何？
As Omi stands petrified on the threshold, the cowbell hanging on the inside of the door chimes loudly. A moment later... Oh. So, I guess that's what Saya actually sounds like, which is how he hears his friends speak. Omi can't believe her ears. The voice she just heard could not have been human. Yeah, isn't it terrible sounding? At the beginning, it was a lot of that. So, yet its intonations were too complex for any animal she can imagine. Basically, yeah.
誰かいるの？
So she spoke out loud. So Saya has heard her now. There is no response. Instead, she hears the sound of something soft and wet flopping its way deeper into the house. Finding it difficult to place a meaningful image to the voice she just heard, Omi stares blankly at the empty vestibule. There's nothing there, not even Fuminori's shoes, which can only mean that he's still outside somewhere wearing them. The house should be empty. But then, what was that voice just now? Her anger has vanished, as if it were never there. Nevertheless, Omi sets foot into the hallway, leaving the door open so that the cowbell won't ring. The floor creaks, setting her nerves on edge. Omi isn't sure why she's acting like a burglar, but something tells her to make as little noise as possible. The potency of the stink inside the house makes the whiff she caught outside pale in comparison. It's sickening, like rotten fish guts. Has food been left to spoil in the kitchen? Oh yeah, for sure. I would not be walking into this house. I would have just fucking left as soon as I heard someone yell, "Welcome home," in a not human voice, essentially. I would have said, fuck that, I'm gone. She hears a bubbling sound up ahead. Stepping gingerly on the creaking floorboards, Omi makes her way to the end of the hallway. She finds rooms to both her sides, one lit, the other dark. She chooses to look into the lit room. It's the kitchen, lit by what must be the only window in the house not covered by a storm shutter. The sound she heard was the pot boiling on the stove, and on the chopping board next to it lie a butcher's knife and some half-diced carrots. A perfectly normal household scene, with the light of the setting sun making everything the color of a decomposing fruit. Sure. Yeah, for sure. I think most normal people would have just been like, okay, GTFO, bro. Something is wrong. Who was cooking here and where did they go? Omi calls, regretting it immediately as she realizes her voice is shaking. As her words echo vainly through the silent house, she begins to feel foolish and defenseless. Suddenly, she feels something cold seeping through her pantyhose. She timidly reaches down to touch her feet. Her fingertips come away covered in a viscous olive green slime, like the filthy water from a tank long clogged with algae and dead fish. The whole floor is covered with it. It must be the source of the stench. Omi now wishes that she had worn her shoes inside. Manners be damned. When she looks back ruefully the way she came, she realizes that her current position is not visible from the entrance. This kitchen must be where the strange voice came from. I can imagine. The smell? I don't know. I don't know. The next room is probably the den, and as she expected from the closed storm shutters, it's pitch black inside. Omi wants nothing more than to flee this house, but that would mean turning her back to the darkness, and that she simply cannot bring herself to do. How stupid of you. Just fucking leave. Moved by some irrational compulsion, Omi sets foot into the den. It's too dark to see anything, and the stink is far worse than before. Yeah, for real. Just fucking nope your way out of there, watching the darkness as you go. It's fine. You'll be fine. She slides her hand along the wall, feeling for the light switch, finding it much sooner than she expected. She flips it on like it's her last hope. The colors. So this is what his living room actually looks like. Saya painted it all right. The colors, so many colors. The purple of entrails, the brown of rotten meat, the crimson of fresh blood, the yellow of fat. These colors and more that cannot be described cover every inch of the room in maddening array. The colors say all that needs to be said about the painter's hatred, malice, and insanity. Omi's legs give out from the shock, sending her to the floor. Slime immediately soaks through her jeans, its cold tendrils creeping up her legs, crotch, and her neck. Her hand flies to her neck, where it is greeted by another drop of chilly slime. Above her, something is dripping down on her head. Making perhaps the worst decision of her life, Omi looks up. The predator clinging to the ceiling, poised to leap upon its prey. She sees it in every detail. Yeah. Her mouth and nose are sealed before she can scream. Her belly is torn open as something enters to feast on her innards. By the time she feels any of this, Omi has already gone mad. Alright, we're back to Fuminori, I guess. I bit the bullet and tried to take the train, but the rush hour crowds were so bad that I had to get off halfway and walk. I'm running pretty late. Is Saya worried? I hope she's not mad. When I enter the yard, I realize that the front door has been left wide open. Light from the living room is seeping out into the hallway, and I hear what sounds like someone smacking their lips. There's also a tantalizing fragrance in the air. Is it Saya? I consider calling out to her, but decide to enter in silence instead. Something smells strange, though not unpleasant. The aroma is quite soothing, in fact. It reminds me of Saya's hair. Oh. At first, I'm surprised by what I see in the living room. The floor is covered in what looks to be some kind of grass, probably the source of the harblick? What the fuck is this word? Harblick smell? Oh, herb-like. My fucking brain. Thank you. That should have been, at least in my opinion, it should have been hyphenated like you wrote it. Okay. And there were fruit or vegetable-like balls in varying size scattered everywhere. Okay, so Fuminori sees what we can assume is a dismembered body and all of its parts just kind of strewn about his living room floor. And he likens it to fruit and vegetables and grass. So we're not normal. It's not normal. What the fuck is a blick? Dude found a blicky on the floor. Bang bang. Let's kill the fucking demon. Ugh. Anyway. Hold on. I need water. Ugh. Alright.
Saya.
What a sight. What is she covered in? Saya turns around, her eyes wide with surprise. She then looks away sheepishly, like a child caught at some prank.
何を食べてるんだい?
これはその
She stammers so flustered that I suddenly feel bad for sneaking up on her. Remembering that she has never eaten in front of me before, I realize that she must be quite embarrassed.
一ついいかな?
Oh my god, dude, you don't even know what she's eating. I scoop up the closest fruit thing and pop it into my mouth, ignoring Saya's attempt to wave me off. It has a strange texture, soft and pliable like a peach or a pear. When I bite into it with my back teeth, a succulent juice fills my mouth. Oh god. Combined with a sharp, strong fragrance that's unlike anything I've ever tasted. Okay, so yeah, I know, right? So we're just cannibals now. Poor Omi, your sacrifice is totally in vain. I'm sorry, you're just getting eaten.
何か味付けとか調理してあるのかこれ。
調理ってほどのことは、さばいてからちょっと溶かして食べやすくしただけで。
I just took it apart and melted it a little. Okay, sure. Whatever, bro. I pick up a different lump, this one consisting of fruity flesh around a hard core. Tearing a chunk off in my mouth, I find that it has a similar taste to the last one.
ねえ、大丈夫？それって。
僕でも食べられる味だ。っていうよりうまいよ、これ。
Dude, I get it. I get it. Your neurons are fucked up. I get it, dude. But like, that was your friend.
そうなの？
そうですよ. At first, Saya looks dumbstruck, but then she bursts out laughing.
そうなんだ。ふみのりもこういうのが好きだったんだ。なんだ、あれこれ工夫して頑張ってた私がバカみたい。
I mean, yeah, that's fair.
さやっていつもこういうものを食べてたのか。
Oh man.
こんな大物は久しぶりだけどね。近所の公園とかで取ってくれるやつ。
This vague language. I usually catch them at the park. Like, what the fuck are you catching? This is quote-unquote fruit, ma'am. There's an impressive nature preserve not too far from here. I've never heard about fruits like these growing there. But, well, of course, they only look like fruits to me. They're really something else.
ごめんね。一番美味しいところはさっきさやが全部食べちゃった。
The fuck you mean you ate all the best parts? What are the best parts?
いいよ、また今度で。でもこれで明日から一緒に食事ができるね。
I need a cannibal to come and tell me what the best parts are supposed to be. Anyway. Saya seems really happy. I'm happy too, of course. Eating with someone is much more fun than eating alone. And it makes the food taste better too.
まだまだいっぱいあるし、食べきれない分は冷やせば 2,3 日は大丈夫だよ。ちょっと味は落ちるんだけどね。
じゃあ早めに片付けておこうか。
Our fridge is gonna be full of Omi. Sealing the small fruits in Tupperware and the large one in pots and bowls, Saya and I store the remaining food in the refrigerator. Thinking of tomorrow's dinner fills me with anticipation. I feel that little by little I'm starting to regain the joy of living. Saya will guide me. With her, I can live on. Please don't go to a sex scene. Okay. I was really worried it was gonna immediately go to a sex scene right there. Okay. Yeah. I know! I was... Dude, I wasn't expecting it to be completely uncensored, okay? I thought at least most hentai or H scenes have mosaics, damn it. Anyway. True Scary Stories, Hospital Edition. Chapter 4, The Monster in the Hospital. This is the first time this has shown up. A medical student relates his shocking experiences. Will you believe him or not? I mean, honestly, as old as this VN is, The only reason there are H scenes at all, usually, is to just sell it to people so they'll read it. So it doesn't really add much, although it is a plot point, so I can't say it's completely useless. It's just, I don't know, it could have been censored a little. Anyway, strange things started happening at the hospital around the end of last spring. It began with patients waking up in the middle of the night screaming. They all spoke of terrifying nightmares, and many of them had to be sedated. Some patients even transferred to other hospitals because of it. Yes, I would have preferred a setting. I don't want to get banned from Twitch for basically showing porn on my stream. Alright. The weird thing was that they'd all had the exact same dream. A dream about some horribly disgusting monsters staring down at them from their bedside. That's okay. That's fair. But I do feel like most people buy this game off of Steam, and Steam has cut off all of the H scenes for the most part. But I buy my visual novels from Jast, and they're uncut, so all the stuff that Steam cuts out is still in it. So hopefully the fact that it's part of the platform makes it safe, and it's marked as such, so I guess I can't get in trouble for it, but I don't really want to test that. I haven't even established. That's true. Steam is a hater. A lot of visual novels get just chopped to fucking bits when they're uploaded to Steam. That's why I buy them from Jast. Not sponsored, by the way. I just like Jast. So this scary story is basically all the patients that Saya was fucking with telling their nurses and stuff that a hideous monster came to their room and was staring at them. So basically what we saw with Fuminori, but we didn't see her as human. These people did not see her as human. So I suppose that's why she was a bit shocked. Anyway. But the really strange stuff started happening after that. There used to be a lot of stray cats around campus looking for scraps from the students. One day the cats suddenly disappeared, and it wasn't that they'd stopped coming. It was more like they'd vanished from the area entirely. So Saya's eating cats. Alright. And then people stopped walking their dogs around. According to rumors, the dogs were refusing to go anywhere near the school. Eventually, things started going missing in the hospital. Organs, to be precise. Transplant organs kept disappearing from storage. People came close to losing their jobs over it. And it wasn't just 2 or 3 times that it happened. They tried to keep it from the students, but we heard it was a lot worse than that. People started saying that there was something living in the hospital. The janitors would find strange messes that could only have been made in the middle of the night, traces of something that had crawled down the hallway, or weird stains caused by something dripping through the ceiling. The late shift nurses talked about hearing strange noises on the same nights that patients woke screaming. There's one last story, one you can never mention inside the hospital. One day, oh god. I go see an obstetrician. I am a woman. How the fuck can I not pronounce this word? Obstetrics. Oh my god, fuck whatever. Department went crazy. They said that a newborn had disappeared in the night. Oh, that's not okay, brother. If that were true, the police would have come and it would have been all over the news. But they say the big shots managed to make it go away. It's just a rumor, of course. These strange incidents suddenly stopped towards the end of summer. Now there are almost no patients complaining of nightmares, and the cats have started coming back to campus. But still, what happened in the hospital that summer, even now, just thinking about it gives me the creeps. All right, fair, awesome. So, you know, Saya was eating cats and stealing transplant organs and being a general nuisance. Yeah, basically. It's just what she's doing.
ダメだ。
I assume they're trying to call Fuminori right here. Oh, Omi, actually. This is the third day in a row that they haven't been able to get in touch with Omi. There's no sign that she returned to her apartment, and even her family doesn't know anything. Her parents have already filed a missing persons report.
まあ、あいつのことだからな。何事もなかったみたいに、ひょっこり顔出しそうな気もするんだが。
The naivete. This is terrible. It's your girlfriend, bro.
だといいけど。
He replies with a gloomy expression. She's worried about Omi, of course, but the incident with Fuminori 3 days ago must still be weighing on her as well. Yeah. From what I can tell, Saya just kind of melts people and then eats them. Or cats or human organs or whatever. Hyo hasn't seen Fuminori since then, and Fuminori hasn't made any effort to approach her or Koji. 4 people used to meet in this cafeteria between classes, but now there are only 2.
ねえ、殿くん、もう一度考えてみようよ。どこか、おみちゃんの行きそうな場所に心当たりない？
I mean, you know she went to Fuminori's house. I don't know why you haven't checked.
いや、一通りは確かめたし。
Liar. Liar. That's so not true. That can't possibly be true. Oh. Ow. Jesus. All right. It's okay, thank you. It's a lie, of course. Koji knows where Omi planned going that evening, but he doesn't want to bring Fuminori up in front of Yo. Okay, fine, I guess. Their awkward silence is mercifully broken by the bell signaling the start of next period.
じゃあ、俺行くわ。
Unless Koji is mistaken, Yo is supposed to have class next period too, but she just sits there staring off into space. Unable to come up with anything to say, he leaves the cafeteria reluctantly. Both Omi's disappearance and Yo's depression worry Koji, and both problems lead back to the same exact place.
海のりは一体。
When Omi went missing, the first thing he did was question Fuminori. After all, the last time he'd seen her was just before she stormed off to give Fuminori a piece of her mind. Fuminori responded with unequivocal denial and acted like he hadn't the slightest idea why Omi would have gone to see him. Perhaps that was only natural, as he was unaware that Omi and Koji had witnessed him reduce Yo to tears. Did Omi even make it to Fuminori's house? She had been riding a wave of emotion when she left and might have calmed down and changed her mind halfway there. Or perhaps she ran into trouble on the way? Koji concluded, or miraculously convinced himself, that one of these possibilities was the truth, subconsciously denying that one remaining possibility, that Fuminori was lying, that he had met Omi and was involved with her disappearance. You're giving your friend way too much benefit of the doubt, sir. Please stop. When questioned by the police, Koji told the truth about Omi's destination only up to the train station, maintaining that he had no idea where she planned to go after that. He wanted to cooperate with the search, of course, but Omi couldn't have made it to Fuminori's house. Fuminori said himself, didn't he? In that case, he told the police everything they needed to know. Dude's in, like, some hard denial. Not wanting to get the still fragile Fuminori involved, he forced himself to accept this flimsy logic. But the conflict was built up inside him without his notice, leaving unanswered suspicion to fester in his mind. Koji is deep in thought, paying no attention to his surroundings, but perhaps that is what allows him to catch sight of his friend's back through the crowd of milling students. Oh, first close-up on Koji.
Fuminori?
At first, Koji assumes that he's headed to the lecture hall, but it soon appears that he is instead going home. Strange. Medical students are required to have courses in the afternoon. Though he is initially surprised, Koji's hesitation lasts for only a second. He follows his friend, taking care to stay far enough behind that he won't be noticed. Going stalker mode. Fuminori wasn't going home. As became obvious when he boarded a train heading in the opposite direction. Koji's next guess was that he was going to see his doctor at T University Hospital, but Fuminori rode straight through the closest station.
どこに向かってる?
At first, Koji felt ashamed for tailing his friend like this, but his conscience fell silent as Fuminori's actions grew more mysterious. The stranger it gets, the closer Koji feels to discovering the truth behind Fuminori's sudden transformation. Any knowledge would be welcome, no matter how slight. Oh, sorry, I didn't see that. My mouse cursor is Yvonne from Infield. The guy who made it was giving it away for free for a limited duration on his Blue Sky. I don't actually know what it costs now, but I'm pretty sure he's selling it on his Ko-fi. Yeah. Alright. Even Koji is beginning to think that there must be more behind Fuminori's change than the accident alone. He wants a more satisfying answer, one that will help him decide whether Fuminori can still be trusted. Fuminori gets off at a small station in a nondescript suburb of Tokyo. Koji follows, trying not to lose sight of him amid the other disembarking passengers. The area is quite desolate, with only a small bookstore, a convenience store, and a market in front of the train station. It is easy for Koji to keep Fuminori in view. This neighborhood was carved out of the Fuji foothills, and here and there remain steep inclines and wooded areas that escaped assimilation. Koji is amazed that such a quiet place exists less than an hour out of central Tokyo. Fuminori seems to know these streets. He moves quietly and purposefully through the suburban community, his eyes fixed straight ahead. Before long, Fuminori reaches a house. Without ringing the bell or even knocking, he opens the door and vanishes inside, leaving Koji to wonder how Fuminori can treat the house as his own. After waiting to see if Fuminori comes back out, Koji approaches the gate and checks the nameplate. Ogai, it reads. Koji has never heard of anyone by that name among Fuminori's acquaintances. My goodness. Next, his attention is drawn to the thick wad of leaflets sticking out of the mail slot. This, coupled with the general dilapidated feel of the place, suggests that it has been abandoned for some time. A small playground about 2 blocks away provides an adequate vantage point from which to watch the front of the Ogai house. Fortunately, it does not appear to be the sort of house that has a rear exit. Koji settles down on a bench and begins his stakeout. Should have brought more smokes. We're not condoning that. 1 hour passes, then another, but there remains no sign of movement around the Ogai residence. Soon, twilight settles upon the neighborhood. After Koji's 1 pack of cigarettes run out, the stakeout becomes a battle against mounting impatience. He kills time by redialing Omi on his cell and sending her short text messages, but his efforts are futile, as he knew they would be. When the sky begins to turn deep blue and the streetlights come on, Fuminori finally emerges from the house and heads back towards the station with the same hurried stride. After some brief consideration, Koji decides that right now, investigating the house is more important than tailing Fuminori. I'm just gonna go into this house. I'm sure. This is a horror thing. It's just a trope at this point. Dude, that's very dumb, but alright. He rings the doorbell just to make sure. Oh, okay. At least you're cordial about it. After receiving the expected silence in response, he checks to make sure no one is watching and turns the doorknob. The door is not locked. The moment he enters the house, stale air thick with mold and dust fills Koji's nostrils. It is the unmistakable smell of a house that has long lain untouched. There is also a faint hint of something else in the air, something reminiscent of damp sewers and fetid cisterns. Ugh. Alright. Flipping the light switch does nothing. The power must be cut off. Yeah, I do, I don't know if appreciate's the correct word to use. I'm glad that it does put you in that mindset of this is a fucking disgusting place to be every time it brings up how it smells. Ugh. Anyway. Koji uses his cigarette lighter to illuminate the immediate area. In the thick dust covering the floor, he sees several brand new trails of footprints that could have only been made by shoes, Fuminori's. Koji decides to follow suit and dispense with courtesy. He enters with his shoes on. How dare you walk around the house with shoes on? Ooh, that music. The lighter's flickering flame pushes back the deathly silence and gloom of the house. If this was like an action bullshit visual novel, some shit like that would absolutely happen. Instead of a bomb going off, though, I think dude's gonna get sidelined by something in here. I mean, it kind of feels like it. I could be wrong. Why the fuck would you go into this house? Koji is surprised to see evidence of life remaining. Everything from furniture to tableware and appliances. Nothing seems to be missing. The thickness of the dust suggests that the house has been empty for several months, which means that the owner must have left with little more than the clothes on his back. Could he have gone on a long vacation? The calendar in the den is still turned to April. Empty and silent, yet still exhibiting signs of the life that once filled there, the house reminds Koji of a passenger ship entombed at the bottom of the sea. In the graveyard-like quiet, a sinister thought suddenly enters his mind. No one is living here, but that does not have to mean that the owner left. Maybe he was murdered, and his rotting corpse is right under Koji's feet. He finds himself wanting a stronger light. A flashlight in his hand would make him feel much better. Dude, I don't know about that. Koji follows Fuminori's footsteps to the second floor, where he begins to catch scent of paper in the stale air. It is a smell of old books, instantly recognizable to anyone who has worked in an antique bookstore or library, or just people who have books. Books have a smell. The first room on the second floor turns out to be a study. Its towering shelves packed with such a vast number of books that Koji fears for the stability of the floor. As a medical student himself, he is able to discern at a glance that this study belongs to a medical professional, and a high-level one at that. Yeah, books do smell good. I enjoy the smell of manga. Judging by the content of the books, a smorgasbord of technical volumes far beyond a simple student's understanding, the owner's interests lie more with medical research than with clinical practice. Fuminori must have spent most of his time here. The scattered dust suggests that he was searching for something, and the contents of the desk drawers are in obvious disarray. A small pile of books stacked on the side table catches his eye. Being next to the desk, they must have been the most frequently read. Their nature should shed some light on the character of the person who worked here. Koji frowns as he examines the 3 books. These aren't scientific texts like the rest, but old leather-bound Western tomes like the sort you would find in a rare bookstore. The titles are meaningless to him. These Scheffers appears to concern sonomics, whereas Ars Magna et Ultima is some kind of treatise on divination. Interesting. There's no way I said any of that right. And then there's the Voynich manuscript, which looks like some sort of picture book. When he pages through it, he finds the text utterly incomprehensible. Maybe it's some kind of cipher. Right? Like, I know it's French or I know it's Latin, but that doesn't mean I'm gonna say it right. Whatever they are, they clearly have nothing to do with medicine, refuting Koji's earlier guess that this Ogai was a doctor. I mean, he was. Looking down, Koji suddenly notices the glint of something black and metallic underneath the chair. A pocket-sized flashlight, quite out of place among all these dusty books. Fuminori must have brought it in. With relief, Koji exchanges his lighter for the flashlight. Its tiny body emits a powerful white beam that casts away the darkness. His courage restored, he decides to explore the rest of the house. Koji notices something strange, something that was not visible in the lighter's weak flame. The slime! Oh my god, alright. Dark, oily stains are everywhere. The stains are especially thick around doorknobs and stair banisters, like someone grasped them with hands in a greasy cloth. My god. Looking closer, he sees places where slime was splashed low on the walls, almost as if a wet mop was run violently across the floor. Yeah, that reaction seems correct. Could Ogai have made these marks? If so, how? Koji begins to feel sick as he imagines a man shambling through the house with slime dripping from his body. Finding the bedroom next to the study, Koji checks the closet on a hunch. He discovers 2 empty suitcases, not what one would leave behind when going on a long vacation. A sudden chill runs through him. Whoever was living here is still somewhere inside the house. What an assumption to make. Suppressing the urge to flee, Koji goes back downstairs to check the first floor. If he finds a corpse, he'll have to call the police right away. He might get away with trespassing if he reports it first. But if they find the body later, it'll be awfully hard to explain his fingerprints all over the house. The flashlight reveals the den to be covered in even more slime than the rest of the house. The sofa looks as though it was dredged from the bottom of a swamp. Ugh. In the kitchen, Koji takes one look at the sink and decides not to get any closer. He doesn't want any more fuel for his imagination. He reaches the door to the bathroom. A common scene from TV dramas flashes through his head. A body with slit wrists floating in the bathtub full of water. Wasn't there a movie where a hitman disposes of his victim in a bathtub filled with lye? Yeah. Koji braces himself for the worst and opens the door slowly, then shines his light into the ceramic bathtub that appears from the darkness like a white ghost. Bones, a mountain of bones, black with dry flesh and blood. Koji puts one hand against the wall to steady himself as his legs threaten to buckle. Something is wrong. He realizes as he tries to desperately to get his thoughts in order. The bones are too small and there are too many of them. They aren't human. After taking several deep breaths to calm himself, Koji enters the bathroom and examines the tub. The bones are piled atop each other like fallen leaves. They appear to be from small animals, perhaps cats or dogs. Yes. Yeah, most people would just fuck off. Even so, the quantity is mind-boggling. How many bodies would it take to produce this many bones? The bones have all been separated from one another, and so it doesn't look like the bodies were just thrown into the tub and left to rot. Each bone is covered with deep grooves, marks left by teeth biting through flesh. Koji's sanity won't let him consider the possibility that a human could have done this. The owner of this house must have kept some sort of carnivorous animal as a pet, giving it the bones of small animals to eat and disposing the remains in the bathtub. Okay, your logic is super fallible and full of holes. Who the fuck would do this? Yeah, thank you. Why not dispose of the leftovers properly? They could have just been thrown out with the garbage, or was there something keeping him from leaving the house? Yeah, right? Again, it's horror tropes. I can't be super mad at it because I am aware. Anyway, the relief Koji felt when he realized that the bones weren't human is once again under attack. In the first place, what the hell was Fuminori doing here? Yeah, wait, why? Oh shit! Oh god! He's here! Ah, should have left while you had the chance, bro. Yeah. Koji whirls around the light, revealing Fuminori's expressionless face. Okay, pot, meat, kettle, or whatever the fuck. The hell? Koji replies, barely managing to speak over the pounding of his heart. Fuminori pushes past Koji and looks into the bathtub. He doesn't even flinch at the sight of the bones. A friend of yours lives here. Okay, sure.
知り合いっていつから一体何者なんだ
Koji doesn't want to believe that the old friendly Fuminori could have had contact with the denizens of this house.
He's
talking about Saya. Okay, that's fair.
おい、Fuminori!
Koji runs after Fuminori. His heart is finally beating normally
お
again.
前まさか近頃様子がおかしいのはその知り合いっていうやつのせいなんじゃ
Probably. Standing in the entrance, Fuminori glares coldly at Koji over his shoulder. The utter lack of emotion in his eyes gives Koji pause. Koji swallows. What can he say?
そういうのは迷惑だ。二度とやらないでもらいたい。
ああ
Sure, bro. Fuminori walks away without another word, leaving Koji alone in the entrance. Up till this very moment, concern for his friend was still at the forefront of his mind. Now, however, that concern is swiftly giving way to a growing sense of dread. Does the Fuminori he knew no longer exist? Was the person who just stared Koji down an imposter wearing Fuminori's skin? Koji has begun to believe that that might be so. Alright, since we've switched perspectives, I'm going to pause right here, so give me a moment. Wait. How am I supposed to save? Does this just save automatically? Because I haven't seen a single, like, menu this entire time. Whatever. If it doesn't save, I'll get back to this point. Oh, it closed! That's not what you want. That's not what you want at all. Oh, jeez. Alright, well. Let's put me front and center then. Alright. Let's see. I don't even want to look. If you enjoy the video, please leave a like, subscribe for more content like this, and turn notifications on so you always know when I've uploaded. And if you're just here to watch the model jiggle, that's fine too. じゃあね。